Okay, so we're back with World Cleanup Day 2025 interviews. And today I'm super excited to have Nicolas with me, who is incredible innovator in the category of sportswear. And he has created a new brand in Switzerland called Mover, which is 100% plastic free, which is quite a innovation in the current sportswear market. So actually, I would really love to give you the microphone, so to say, and let you to introduce yourself and Mover, and how did it emerge? Like, how did this idea come in the first place?
Yes, hello, Marilyn. It's thank you for inviting me. How it started, how it emerged is a long journey now. I came into the textile industry by accident. I'm Swiss. I'm a skier, as most Swiss are skiers, but I'm sort of a strange entrepreneur because I'm also an activist. I'm an activist entrepreneur. Um, and when I say by accident, is that I was asked to financially participate to a Swedish ski wear brand called Mover, and I was happy to take a few shares there. And I thought maybe in 2 years I will say what I like and that I like merino wool and things like that. Unfortunately, the brand went quite bad financially, and I had to take it over for 1 Swedish krona back in 2004, 20 years ago. And so I had to take care of a ski wear brand, and I had no clue about production, distribution, whatever. And to make the story short, we went through rough times and good times. We were quite innovative and creative, and through a very instinctive process, we introduced merino wool first in our underwear. That was nothing new. Icebreaker was already there in the market and other brands, but we gently replaced old polyamide polyester first, second layers by merino wool. Then we developed the first wool insulation called Swiss wool. That was not existing on the market. You could only insulate an outdoor or sport garment with down or with polyester. These polyester fleece, non-woven fleece like Primaloft, Insulate, Thermolite, all these are polyesters. And down is natural, is nice, but it heats too much because we have to contain the downs in downproof bags, which are nylon bags, and it's not adapted for sports. It's beautiful to have a Moncler jacket, but it's not adapted to go skiing in the tough mountains. So we tried to find something that was more breathable, that was more thermal regulating, and we developed this beautiful non-woven wool fleece. First called Swiss wool, now called whatever wool. You find this product as a standard in the industry. It's now produced not only in Germany as originally, but also in UK, also in Italy, in Japan. So we were quite proud to have brought that to the market. And we were insulating our ski trousers and ski jackets also with merino wool as a lining. It was a very interesting development up to the point where we realized that our Gore-Tex membrane, which we were a Gore-Tex licensed brand, and this Gore-Tex membrane was actually not super satisfying to go in the effort. When I speak skiing, say skiing, I speak free ride skiing, which is very active. You have to climb up the mountain, ski down in deep powder, so you are quite physically active, and we always had to take our jacket on and off when we were on the mountain and put some layers or take away some layers underneath. And it was not, in terms of function and performance as we define it, satisfying. So we tried other fabrics and realized that the actual problem of breathability was the membrane, the plastic membrane. That was a plastic shield between our body and the environment. And we tested a new, it's nothing new. It's a very old fabric from the 30s, which is called Ventile cotton. It's a high densely woven cotton that was developed for the British Navy and Army back in 1930. That made the Burberry trench coat famous. This is the Burberry trench coat original fabric, which is waterproof, windproof. Sir Hillary and Sherpa Tenzing climbed the Everest in 53 with this fabric to be completely protected. The North Pole, the South Pole, I mean, anything was reached with this fabric. It worked like hell before we invented synthetic. And we tested this for skiing. And actually, this combined with our wool layers underneath was beautifully comfortable and performing. All this story to say, all this development, maybe 15 years, was not about sustainability. It was about making our brand different. It was about searching for a better comfort, for a better breathability, to go further in the effort before sweating, to go further in the cold before being chilled or too cold. And the answers were natural fabrics. Only then, that was back in maybe 2016, a friend of mine came to this office here in Lausanne after having navigated around the world with a boat from the Race for Water Foundation. And they collected sand samples from all around the most remote beaches in the world. And they let them analyze here in Lausanne. He showed me the results. And the plastic pollution, microplastic pollutions of these sand samples was absolutely appalling. It was a disaster. And we spoke about the places he had been, the most virgin, pure, pristine places in the world, and no one had escaped to this pollution. And when I realized that, I started getting documented about the plastic pollution issue and realized that our industry, textile, was responsible for a big third of these microplastics, 35% apparently, while the tire industry, entire world tire industry, was responsible for only 32%. So the major contributor was textiles. We had already at Mover developed a solution almost without plastic. And we decided in 2019 to work on this new proposal, which is called Mover Plastic Free Sportswear, where we had to replace all accessories, trims, little details by natural fibers. So it was a very nice process to get completely plastic free.
Such a beautiful and interesting story. And it really raises the question, when we did have the natural fibers as the primary kind of textile resource, what we were using before in the 30s and so on, why, in your perspective, did it change, and why it's so difficult to now go back to the natural fabrics in the large scale? Because most of the sportswear brands, they have completely implemented a very synthetic kind of materials in their products. So why, in your view, it has happened, and what would be needed in order to kind of go back and implement the more natural way of living back into our lives?
I think it was implemented because it was cool to have something new, and it was cheap to produce synthetic garments instead of natural fabric, and to use these instead of natural fabrics. So for these two reasons, because it was new and pretty cool to have something new, it's always cool to have innovation. We substituted very quickly, and then the consumer, we have been completely brainwashed during 50 years because we have been sold technical sport garment uniquely as synthetic. We calculated that more than 99% of sportswear today is made of synthetic fiber. There's less than 1% of the overall sportswear market which uses natural fabrics. When I say that, it's just the few 100% merino wool t-shirts and underwears, which account for that, and the very few cotton jackets used in sportswear. So it's really less than 1%. So it's just that people don't even think about an alternative when they go ski touring, cross-country skiing, when they go running, when they go golfing, when they go playing tennis, whatever sport, it will be a synthetic answer. It's a bit strange because you can run as fast with a cotton short and a cotton tank as you would do with a synthetic. Or Rafael Nadal, I mean, a player like Alcaraz, we saw this amazing final at Roland Garros between Alcaraz and Sinner, the two best tennis players in the world. They could play tennis like Lacoste did at his time in cotton, with a piqué polo and with a cotton short. They would play as well. To play golf is even much better, because the comfort, then you have a better comfort to ride a horse. Whatever sport you do, you can replace with natural fibers. So we have been brainwashed. We have been told and sold that this was more technical. And what is super interesting in our approach is to actually demonstrate that we can get the same level of performance, possibly feel even better because we sweat less, or the sweat will evacuate, or the moisture will wick out faster, possibly with some natural fibers, not all. But as I said before, you gain this breathability and this thermal regulation, which we don't necessarily have with synthetic fibers. So even in terms of comfort, what you feel on your skin, you do feel better. So we are very optimistic that there is a new market segment that we can develop, but we need to convince the consumer that has been heavily brainwashed in the last 50 years.
Mm. So interesting. And absolutely one thing is always the newness, especially in the fashion industry, right? And kind of what the general trend is. But the other side, of course, is the price, for both the consumer and for the producer, the brand, and so on. And when I was actually going through your website looking at the products, I really noticed that you would think, and this is also something what we have been kind of brainwashed to believe, that all the natural materials are so expensive and it's going to be like Hermes or Loro Piana, or the kind of a price range like that. But actually your products are very affordable in the sense that they're not like crazy premium luxury prices, and I wouldn't say that they're more expensive than Nike or any kind of more general sportswear brand. So how did you achieve this?
Mhm. This was super important from start when we restarted this project. We want to have an impact on the industry, and to have an impact, you need most people to be able to afford the product and to understand that you can actually replace your synthetic garments by natural ones. And so the beauty of creating a new company back in 2020, because it was a complete work of from scratch to build up a new company. And the beauty of doing that was that we could think of optimize all the flows, optimize all the supply chain, optimize all the manufacturing chain, reduce the transportation, reduce the distances. So we have a beautiful model that was created back into 1920 that we're using today, and that allows us to be very competitive. Obviously, our benchmark is Patagonia in the States is our hero of sustainability in the last 50 years. I was going with my car to Chamonix to buy my first Patagonia fleece back in the 80s. It was the first shop in Europe. We need to be competitive, and we need to be benchmarked with such brands. So the secret is at multiple steps of the supply production chain. Obviously, our raw materials are much more expensive than synthetics. We buy merino wool, we buy organic cotton, we buy some linen or hemp. And they need to be expensive. They need to have a cost, because we want the farmer to treat his animals correctly. We want the grower to treat his fields correctly, and don't pose a problem to the water around him and to the resources around him, and not to use any pesticides. So we buy certified cotton only, and this has a cost. It does a cost. So you have to work with your margin. You have to place your margin a bit elsewhere. Of course, we have a reduced marketing budget. We have a reduced personal budget. We are a super small team. We are working very hard, trying our best, and possibly our margin is still good in terms of if we compare to bigger brands. But obviously, we are at a small scale. It makes things a little easier. And we are also an e-commerce brand, and that's the secret also of being affordable, is that we sell our goods directly to the end consumer.
That makes a lot of sense, and also it leads me straight to the next question, which is about reaching the consumer. Like, what you mentioned before as well was that the education part is so important, that we have been brainwashed for such a long time, and now we need to kind of re-educate people in terms of natural fibers and its functionalities. So I'm wondering, how have the consumers found you, or how have you gone out and found your people, like your customers, for this brand?
Yeah, I think this is what we are the most struggling with. It's most difficult is to reach out and to make the consumer aware that we actually exist. So, and this is a lot about money and visibility. And so by trying to find our way through that. Obviously, we participate a lot of conferences, panels, interviews. We are present wherever we can be present. We thought this would be much easier. We thought that being plastic free would be easy. That the press, the media, all the specialists would speak about that. It didn't happen at all. Launched back in October 21, and we had the few first nice year in 22 with good sales. We had this partnership with SailGP, which brought us a lot of visibility, which was beautiful. But then we stalled our sales. We couldn't reach out more consumers. So it was not as spontaneous and immediate as we expected. So now we're working on much more on communication. We're working on an image. It's also a step because we launched a complete new company 4 years ago. We're a small team, so we have to go step by step. We did a full collection. We produced, we created ourselves. So it's a lot of development. We did this e-commerce platform ourselves on Shopify. So it's a nice development. It's a nice brand building, and we are in the first stage of the brand building. Now, to
Absolutely.
answer your question, sorry to interrupt, but I think it comes a lot about education. It comes back to education, and we are surprised to see how many years, how long it takes for the consumer to understand the problems about plastic pollution. Because the first step is to understand that synthetic textiles are plastics. People don't realize that they're yoga trousers or running tank is actually made of plastics, because they say, no, it's synthetic, it's polyamide, it's not plastic. And say, no, well, polyamide is plastic and it contains toxic chemicals. This is much worse. And this second step, to link plastic pollution to toxic contamination, is even a finer tune, which people don't get yet. So it's a lot about educating, about informing, about realizing that plastic itself is a problem, but the chemical issue around plastic is the real problem that will affect our environment and our health. I speak about the endocrine perturbators. I speak about the substances causing cancers, causing diabetes, causing autism. These are all attested. The studies, peer-reviewed studies, have 30 years old. There are thousands that have been published. People, this is still not a public information, and even the media, the press, the journalists we speak to don't master this information yet.
Yeah, well, that we have seen, unfortunately, that's a case that the media can be quite one-sided, at times. So that can definitely be an issue. And what came to me, well, though, was that the story, what you were telling, it's like such a beautiful example of slow fashion, as opposed to the whole fast fashion craze what we had for a while.
It is slow fashion, absolutely. It's a different way to look at what we buy and how what we wear and for how long, and what we actually need to go outdoors.
Exactly. And I think one thing is that it really comes back to the respect for products, the respect for the processes and like the craftsmanship, which I think is so important, that what completely was swept away with a fast fashion where everything was just, coming and coming and coming, and we're gonna forgot that actually those are resources as well, and somebody has made them, and what we wear, it's something what we need to respect. So I think the slow fashion is hopefully what I can see bringing this back again, which is so beautiful.
Absolutely.
So why don't we go to, okay, what would you say, as you say, it's such a small market and you're really gonna have the pioneers in this new market category. What would you say to other entrepreneurs who would like to start, like, come to the fashion industry, start like a new clothing brand, and or perhaps they already have a clothing brand and they want to pivot to become more sustainable, regenerative, and natural, and so on? Like, what would you tell them? Like, what was your biggest lesson in this journey?
Well, first I would tell them they are super welcome. You're welcome to join, because this is also the purpose of our project, is to be a catalyst for the entire industry and to really show that it's possible to go another route, to go another way, and that there is a market for that. And we compare this to the electric vehicles market. with the first players. Of course, there's a lot of doubt among the consumer on the batteries, on the is it lasting long enough? Can I drive far enough? There's a lot of questions to us, for example, on the water columns of our rain jacket. What is the water column of your rain jacket? And I always answer the same. I say, I don't need a water column to go skiing. I need to be protected. I don't need 40 meters of water in a tube on my shoulder to make sure it doesn't go through. I need to be protected. And I don't want the water to get in, but I want my respiration, my sweat to go out. So it's more about comfort. My performance is more about comfort and not about these numbers. So to come back to the EV, we have estimated that the plastic-free sportswear segment will grow up to 5% into the next 10 years, and this is quite realistic. And that means already it's close to 30 billion market. It's a big market, 30 billion. And there's no player today, but us who started that and a few other big brands which are joining, like Icebreaker, who wants to go to be plastic free. They claim now they have, last year they were at, I think, 92%. They're now 97%. I think they struggle with the small details that were very difficult to solve on our side. So we know the process, but we are super happy that big brands are joining because we need more power. We need more consumers to be informed, to be educated, to go for these solutions. And we believe really that it just opens up a new market segment, and we have a little journey advantage here that we have to try to use and to turn on in a positive way. But frankly, we don't see a huge problem in terms of resources to be used when we speak natural fibers, be it again wool, hemp, cotton. There's a lot of room for more cultures, for more farmers. Sorry for that. So we are not afraid of raw material problems. We would like to have more farmers and more growers around the world, and less petrol drillers. That would be our dream. So this is for sure. And then it's about the consumer. Is really about the consumer. How far can this go? And do we want to stop plastic? We don't have this ambition. We don't believe we can pretend that we will do that, but that we can go like organic food and gently convince people that there are better options, healthier options that respect all stakeholders. This is our ambition.
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely, I think when, it can't be, it's a systemic thing, right? It can't be just tackled from one end. It needs to be kind of a circular solution to this. So consumers have to come on board, the brands have to come on board, entrepreneurs have to come on board, and the farmers have to come on board. And the other part is also like the kind of legislation and the government. So I'm wondering, like, have you seen any changes, like positive changes, what actually support the movement in the fashion and textile industry towards plastic free and more sustainable materials? And whether it's a yes or no, the answer, if you could make up one policy, what would be implemented, no questions asked, globally from 1st of January next year, what would it be?
Oh, it would be to hold the companies accountable for the damage they create.
Hmm.
With no hesitation. We as companies should be held accountable for the damage we create on the environment and on public health. This would be the measure that would stop all the industry of contaminating us. So the problem we face, we speak from time to time in Brussels with deputies, and we understand the power of the lobbies, but the problem we have is the greenwashing that is entertained and promoted by the fossil fuel industry to continue business as usual. And this is really the main issue we are confronted with. Basically, it's about recycled plastics. All measures which are decided at a regulatory level go in favor of recycling more plastic. Recycling plastic will recycle the problem. It will bring more chemical compounds into the chain, into the environment. It will not alter anything, it will not solve anything. It will just perpetuate the problem. It will make a toxic linear economy circular. We'll go to a toxic circular economy. That's the only result of such policies. And if you look at it under a chemical perspective, it's a true disaster because we give the consumer uh, good conscience. He thinks he does something okay for the environment by buying recycled polyester yoga trousers, while he just pollutes more. I have a strong metaphor for that. You have a brain tumor, it is lethal. You are lucky enough to have a surgeon that takes it out of your brain, puts it in a blender, and reinjects this into your vein. This is recycled plastic. We take it out of the environment, out of the sea, fish nets, whatever. It's good to collect the plastics, but not to put them back into the same environment after treatment with the same chemicals. It makes really no sense.
Yes, 100% agree. And that's a very strong metaphor because I don't think any person would just become like, oh, yeah, that's fine. I'll
Let's
just
do that.
bring it back on.
No, but greenwashing is really, I think, the worst that happens around. And for some reason, I don't understand in this specific industry, textile, we're allowed to lie to the consumer. There is no regulation. If you run a restaurant, you're not allowed to lie to your customers. I mean, there are policies, there are dangers, you can be sued, but in textile, everybody can say whatever he wants. There's no regulation. And then the problem that it generates is that all the money, meaning all the public funds, but also the private funds, the private equity, rushes into recycled plastic solutions, chemical recycling versus mechanical recycling, and all the debate you can hear at the WEF in Davos or in Brussels or at whatever level, or at the fashion summit in Copenhagen. All the debates are around let's recycle more. We know we recycle 6% of the overall plastic around the world, 9% in some countries, but it's not about the number. It's about it's a nonsense to recycle plastic. It's just the wrong way. So it's a lure. So why are we trapped into that? And why are not more people aware that this trap was set up and that we should not fall into that? And we should look and work on alternative solutions and put our brains and our money in natural alternative developments. For example, in our sector, a few years ago, we could buy a jersey, merino wool, more or less heavy. That's why brands like Icebreaker were selling 150 grams, 180 grams, 220 and 330 grams on their packaging. Because that's what we could source was about that. We could have this jersey in different weights. Nowadays, a few years after, it took 5 years, because there is some demand from the industry, from us, we can get a wool fleece, which is lighter than a polyamide fleece, which is 100% wool based. We can have a wool French terry. We can have a wool piqué. We can have amazing structures. We have a tech fleece, which is flat on one side, which is brushed on the other. And these new fabrics are extremely light, extremely comfortable. They are washable. They are easy care. So there is no reason not to use these instead of synthetics. There is no limitation to that. And so what we wish is to have more investment into natural fibers. We would like our high school to work on this. We would like to have a durable water repellent treatment on the surface of our cotton that is chemically clean and neutral. So we would like our money and our brain to be invested there in clean solutions rather than being invested in things that just perpetuate the problem.
That is absolute gold. And I really wish that as well for the world. And hopefully we with World Cleanup Day we can spread the word and the world as well. I have two last questions for you, especially about kind of your personal journey with Mover, but also really about the brand as well. What has been your biggest challenge and what has been your biggest win with the mover?
I think the biggest challenge was to be 100% plastic free. It's quite an easy answer, but this was a fun journey because we struggled on the evil is in the details. Obviously, when we came to replace the Velcro on the end of our sleeves, Velcro is so convenient. It is so efficient that it's super tough to replace. And then we asked our suppliers to stitch our garments with cotton thread. And our our manufacturers said that we can't. It's too fragile. It breaks. And we didn't understand that because our answer was, yeah, but come on, our parents or grandparents or our blue jeans are made with cotton thread. So blue jeans is super solid. And Levi's has been stitched with cotton thread for 100 years, and we realized that actually they had to change the needle in the factory to have the cotton thread go through the needle, and they didn't want to lose that time, so they were trying to find answers to not to avoid to use the cotton thread. Mm, It took me over a year to convince YKK, one of the major zip supplier worldwide, to not to provide a metallic zipper, slider, puller. This they had in their collection, but it was all teeth were fixed on a on a polyester band or polycotton band, and it was impossible to get them back to 100% cotton tape or band. And after 1 year speaking with the Japanese managers of YKK in Germany to really try to convince them that we would not be the sole player in this plastic-free segment, that big companies would join, they understood that that could be an interesting market for the future. And they finally found a machine for us that was still producing the cotton band. So we got our natural zipper. So it was a fun process, but very interesting in terms of creativity, of finding new solutions. Sometimes looking at the past to move forward. What were our grandparents using? And actually, these people were pretty smart and had already developed a lot of solutions we can reuse today. Of course, with new technologies, with new materials, much lighter, much easier. So we use aluminium, we use a lot of, for example, we replaced all the elastan, the elastic cords, our cotton cords, our cord stoppers, aluminium. It was a fun process.
Wow, interesting. Of course, because you don't actually think that it's not just about the main material, it's also all about the details, right?
Exactly,
Which
exactly. But
are
the beauty of that, sorry, yeah, the beauty of that is that our garments can really biodegrade, meaning we can bury our garments and they will completely degrade and serve as a nutrient for the earth. So they truly leave no trace. Of course, a metallic zipper will take more time to degrade the metal itself, but after 30, 40 years, it will be back to earth. While the cotton will take less than a year to completely disappear, and the wool is a fertilizer. So it's beautiful actually to be able to use this and to know that we leave a completely clean environment behind us.
absolutely, absolutely. And let's start on the positive note. What has been your biggest win so far?
Our biggest win, I believe, is to have opened this new market segment, which is plastic-free sportswear, which was not existing. So this is really achievement for us, is to say, wow, we've been first here, and we inspire others. We show it's possible. We really hope that other brands join because we want this to develop into a market segment and to have consumers that join. Again, like the electric vehicles or like the organic food, we really believe that a good share of the consumers can realize that they can live in a better, cleaner way. But the result is also their own health and their own comfort for them and for their families and children, that they will just feel better also when they do sports. So I think that the biggest win is really that. And then, of course, there are milestones, there are things we have done. But I think the pride is really to say, well, if we have achieved that, that's pretty good.
Absolutely. Again, totally agree. And it's such an honor because you are true pioneers in this market. And it's just so beautiful to see that someone, you actually had the courage to go and forge a different path for yourself away from the mainstream and where sort of the general kind of public is running towards. So it's really amazing, and we all try to help and hope that more people will join your path because it is truly more healthy, more clean, more full of well-being for everyone, and just better for the world and for the earth. Thank you so much. It was just such a beautiful conversation. Thank you for taking the time. And yeah, let's do it. Let's build
Let's
a
do
new
it.
world together.
Let's do it. Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you very much.
Amazing.